All right, everybody, welcome to the, what date are we on? 12 December Art Commission meeting. And we do have a quorum, but I'll do the roll call anyway. Position 1, Carla's not going to join us. Position 2, J.R. Russell, that's me, I'm here. Position 3, Mary Himes, she's not coming in. Position 4, Valerie, she's trying to join. I don't know if we'll see her or not. Cynthia Mason, Tracy Davidson, and Therese Kinsbear, she's chimed in. We can see her hat. Student member Reese Wassinger, she's not here right now, and ex officio council member Chris Wigenstein, he's here. All right, and with that, we've got the agenda in front of you. Does anybody have any changes you want to make to the agenda? Unless we want to knock everything out and move the framework update to
They're first anyway.
their first. If we wanted to get rid of everything up to, if we move A to G, so we can try to get through our stuff as fast as we can, or do we want to let framework just go and then see how it works out?
Yeah.
I like the first idea.
Okay. With that, I'd move that we'd move item A, the framework update, and we'll put that down to after subcommittee updates. Everybody happy with that?
After subcommittee as B.
Put it, no, well, there's a subcommittee on the back under G, so we'll put it after G. We'll put it right before Parks and Rec Director updates.
Okay.
I am okay with that. I would say let's make sure we're being very efficient going through the first items.
That's what I said.
Absolutely. So we good to go on that? All in favor? All right.
Aye.
Public comment. Do we have any public comments? Oh, wait a minute. Sorry about that. We have to do the approval of minutes from the regular meeting of November 14th.
They're always perfect. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 14th as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Okay, now we'll move into public comment.
I don't believe we received any public comment this month.
Okay? Given that we have no public comment, we'll now move into item 5, discussion, action, and presentation of report items. And the first one is going to be review of subcommittees for 2025.
Okay, so we had a number of subcommittees that we were working with, communications, the Angel of Creativity, sculpture, skate park project, art plan and outreach committee, and then the placemaking and public art committee, and then we had a joint subcommittee with Parks and Recreation for programs and special events. We are no longer doing most of those subcommittees. The placemaking and public art committee is still meeting regularly. The programs and special events subcommittee has decided to withdraw and just leave that to the Parks and Recreation Commission's subcommittee. So the discussion is just open on, do you want to continue any of these other subcommittees? Are there any goals, priorities, special projects that you would like to create a subcommittee for in 2025? Would you like to just go ahead and disband all subcommittees and have all discussion items come to the commission meetings without that?
Go ahead, Tracy.
Thank you, JR. I would suggest we need to maybe clarify the statement about the events committee withdrawing. What that situation was the meeting didn't pose relevancy to the Art Commission more than it was more about the public works folks and what their initiatives were. So we didn't withdraw from the committee. What we ended up doing is just withdrawing from that particular meeting and then setting up our own meeting where we then had the discussions. But we did reach a point where we felt that we wanted to hold until Frameworks report was given and then take action on their recommendations or what they have outlined in their report. So that committee was not disbanded or anything, if that makes that a little clearer.
Cynthia?
I would suggest that we table that discussion until our plan's adopted, because there's a lot of information within the document that, once approved, will drive action going forward that would create new subcommittees.
So would you like to hold off on subcommittee meetings until
Yeah,
then?
yeah,
Okay.
that would be my suggestion.
Oh, man, I should have gone before you because that's what I wanted to suggest. Bummer. I mean, I can't sound smart now. I agree.
Okay, good.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to,
So,
Yeah.
let me just clarify, is that
Yep.
the group
Yep.
consensus then?
Yeah.
You want to,
Should I make a motion to table it?
yeah, Teresa, have any thoughts on that?
Nope. Do you need a motion, Mikhail, to table that discussion?
Not really. They're not,
Okay.
No.
they're not official.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, we purposely
Yeah.
keep them as non-actionable committees.
Okay.
Nope.
So, as long as everyone is in agreement, then.
okay, onward. Utility box wrapping. I can give the update on that, and I know Teresa's here. We had a meeting, Brian, that was last week? We talked about it. There's good news, and then there's just other news. The good news is, I think we have finalized putting the project out for bid with 3 people to do the job, that could do the job. The challenge is, everybody that, if you're going to go wrap these boxes in the company, you want exact measurements. And getting the exact measurements of all these boxes, and then only not to get the job, is not good business. So what we came up with, in the proposal, the way the bid will go out to 3 vendors, we picked out the biggest box and say, everybody give an estimate on that box, with the stipulation being that our goal would be to wrap 4 to 5 boxes this year, and then we'd revisit.
Meaning 2025.
In 2025, excuse me, in 2025, because that gives us all time to get the act together as far as which boxes are going to be done, and the fact that it'd be warm weather. So the goal was to be looking at May, June, July, and August, and having these, saying, we want the job done on 4 boxes by September. So that piece of paperwork's going out. I have sent a note out to the art teachers at the schools just to give them an update, saying, hey, we'd want to meet with them sometime. So that's all the good news. It's just to get all through the red tape, or, it just becomes a little bit more time consuming. But the good news is, I think we've got, Brian, am I right? Because everybody left there like pretty happy that we were going off in the right direction. We've got the train is on the track now.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty solid plan. And our central services manager, Center Place, is facilitating that.
Okay, so it seems like everybody's on board the train, and we'd hit the start button, if there is a start button on the train. Anybody have anything? Okay. The next one is item D, Imagination Cove Children's Museum art supplies. I, being a grandparent, went to the Imagination Cove downtown. It's a brand-new children's museum started up by 2 young entrepreneurs from military families. And it's basically a children's museum, and they cater you know, everything, in this case, all the way up to like, to 10, 12, 13-year-olds. And they have one section that is beautifully set up for arts and crafts. And for Thanksgiving, they had paper out there with turkeys and placemats that kids could color and do stuff. They are not a nonprofit. And their supplies will go away for art supplies. And I asked, you know, I'm like, well, geez, it'd be an interesting discussion to bring up to the Art Commission. And they are going to, I have invited them to come to our January meeting to explain who they are. And we can talk about it then, because it brings up a unique situation in that they're a nonprofit, and like if everybody's going to come to the Art Commission looking for stuff, and now that we've got an art plan, we can digest and see how something like this fits in, so that if we can't help, we can find them help. And that's, I'd just like to move that into January, or, you know, if anybody else has any thoughts on that right now, that's it. Tracy?
Love that. Where are they located? So I can go see.
Yeah, oh man, they're down by Ace Hardware in the golf,
Okay,
between the Habitat, you know, and the Jeans Art and that whole area, probably what used to be the Sears building, and now they've got a indoor golf in there, and they really haven't, and they're doing party supplies and signs, and they've got a lot of people contributing and bringing stuff into it. They're going to have music in there. It's just a nice setup, and there's a lot of potential there, especially when you're talking for one section that's arts.
have they put a budget together?
They're working on that.
Okay,
They were, their initial estimate that they'd look for $1,000 for art supplies. Specifically for art supplies.
a year?
Just for, yeah, right now for the year, no, for the year.
A one-time gift.
Yeah, like a one-time gift. And, but what you just said, one-time gift, what kind of precedent are we setting doing this? So I think it might require a little bit more discussion. We can do that in January when we talk to them and when we invite them here, because that could be, somebody else could be watching and figuring like, well, geez, why don't I go look at that too? So it gives us, as we look through the art plan, this is a prime example of reaching out and finding something different in here, and how does it fit into some of these appendices for a project or whatever, because it would be one of those. It might be our first one.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to item E, the Performing Arts Center.
So we did get notice from the Department of Commerce that the request for allocating $35,000 out of the rec center feasibility study to do a study on a performing arts center was denied. As far as that being done by an outside organization or having something that's different from the project that was submitted as part of the member projects allocation for the state legislature. That's, you know, it's unfortunately not what we were hoping to hear.
I can't hear.
I was just going to ask that, if we could hear, if you guys can hear what Brian's saying.
Is your mic on?
I will put the mic a little closer. You hear me all right now, Therese?
Yeah, it says your mic's muted.
Nope. Yeah, so we looked at a couple other avenues, but yeah, it doesn't look like that is going to happen. The administration is still very open to facility planning and partnerships, so we'll continue to support that effort going forward. But as far as carving off some of that funding specifically for that study, we've kind of hit a dead end there.
Cynthia?
Full disclosure, I'm not sure that we ever really talked about what we were doing with the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation with this group, Brian. So this might sound like it's coming out of left field to some of you. I sit right now as the president of the Oak Harbor Music Festival and the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation, which is a newer nonprofit in town with a few initiatives, one of which is to see a performing arts center built in tandem with the efforts that the city has going on with taking steps into feasibility study for a rec center. So conversation has taken place with the group that has initiated the rec center vision and our board. The city was awarded a little less than $200,000 from the state to do that study. And we were hopeful and had the support from all of the right people, meaning state representatives and council, et cetera, to move forward to ask the city if we could, as a nonprofit, take some of those funds and in tandem with what they were doing, do a study specifically to see if a true feasibility study is even worth doing on a performing arts center in Oak Harbor for Whidbey Island. And the news came back just this morning that that's not possible with the way those funds are given to the city. That won't stop the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation to step up and start fundraising for that $35,000 mark. Thank you.
Thanks for the
Thanks for
background.
that.
I realize I've had this, yeah, I've talked
Thanks
about
for
this so
that.
many different commissions, but I guess we haven't specifically had this task to the Arts Commission because it's been through the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Chris?
On that performing arts thought process, as the city is also faced with a marina problem, one of the avenues that we're looking at with the marina is potentially pushing that Port Authority process, which a Port Authority could actually build a performing arts as well. So as we start going forward on ways to get things and infrastructure built, if this Port Authority is the option that moves forward, we want it to be more than just the marina. And so it's a perfect opportunity to help build some of that stuff. So
Thank you. And may
another
I
avenue.
add, just to finish up, we, again, the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation hopes to be a key voice in the bigger picture for all of these larger initiatives that are going on in our beautiful city. So you haven't heard the last of us. Thank you.
And just my only comment on that would be to show that I did look at this giant tome and I saw the little acorn on there and then trees growing and like 5 years and everything like that. I think this is the little acorn that should be planted, and we should probably, this would be another, correct me if I'm wrong, but this would be another thing in the appendix that is listed as a project, and we'll just see how it goes. I read this. All right, so we can move on to item F, the possible Bruiser the Elk collaboration. I didn't put it on there, I don't know,
I think it's on here as an open item. It was presented by way of public comment from
Oh,
one
okay.
person in town. And this, again, can be just kept on our agenda as we work through the plan process, like the creative or your museum piece. This could be one of the first things that gets flushed through the process or introduced to the process once the plan's
Okay.
adopted.
Bruiser stays on our agenda. Let's go to item G, subcommittee updates. Do we have any subcommittee updates?
No.
Okay? Well, with that,
Hey, JR,
Yeah.
maybe just to elaborate on that last item and as far as,
which one, Bruiser?
yeah. right,
Okay.
And public art placemaking. So it was Jasmine Flowers with Skagit Valley College, student government body. that had put this proposal forward of having the school produce a sculpture of Bruiser on the island and work with the city and the art commission about it. Their welding department had started on what materials would be needed for that. We had asked her to come and present. She wasn't able to make it at the last meeting, and I hadn't heard back from her since then. But if you'd like, I will reach back out and see if she can come and talk a little more about this, and we can collaborate with them.
Absolutely. And to tell you the truth, that's another one. There'd be the next one to grab one of those appendixes that has,
Yeah.
here's the form that you fill out. And then we'd all be on the same page of knowing what to read, what to expect, and how to deal with it.
I know Bruiser's story very well. I've been following him since he swam to the island. And just for the report, I was blessed about 3 weeks ago. He actually walked across my yard and down the property and bugled and went about his business. So he made it all the way from past where he lives down by Mariners Cove, all the way down to my house, and then turned around and went back. So, yeah, I love the idea. I'm a Bruiser fan.
Yay, Bruiser. Okay. So that leads us, now that we're done with subcommittee updates, we can move on to the framework update. So the microphone's over to you, Leslie.
Okay, I think you need to find Bruiser a girlfriend.
I hear he's stress-free without one.
Okay, well, we had really enjoyed putting this tome together for you. It's not intended, length was not the intent, but we really want to get you everything you need to say yes and to say no and to pace yourselves. What's your pleasure? Do you want to walk through it a little bit?
Yes.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Bubba, you wanna put it up on the screen there?
Yes.
There's, yeah.
Yeah. I can do that if you need. Okay. So yeah, we were very inspired by the oak metaphor and just what it means to plant seeds. So I hope that works for you guys. It's the name of your city, so well, hopefully. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's the only thing we know how to say now. Yes.
Okay. But if you can't get that on the screen, I've got it handy here, so let me share screen.
Yeah, I got getting a little bit technical issue here, but I can share my entire screen.
If
Okay.
Bobo
yeah,
has a
it's-
technical issue, then we have major problems in the universe.
choose what to share. Yeah, it's a little.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's just pop through it. I think let's start. Let's go to the acknowledgements page. Sometimes this is a hard page. I just want to make sure that you guys give your input on anybody that we missed or spelled their name wrong or anything like that. So we want to make sure that we get that right so that everybody is acknowledged properly. We kind of put this into a few chapters here. The executive summary is something that we always have to do now because nobody's got an attention span. But for people that don't want to do the deep dive, I think that's a really helpful way to look at it. How we put the vision together, what Arts in Elk Harbor is. We talked a lot about that, and I want JR to be able to explain it to his golf buddies. I think it'd be lovely if you continue to add to hashtag OHArtsIs. I think it's an ongoing issue for you all to really recognize all that you have and what you want to strengthen. Building the structure, we really, really want to give you all the tools that you can use to be your best selves, your most organized and most effective. And then, a bunch of the ideas that came out of the work that we did with you all, and opportunities come up every day. So how do you have those criteria and make those choices to spend your resources and your time the best way you can? Okay, let's zoom on, and feel free to interrupt me. I don't want to do a monologue. So I don't think any of this should be a surprise. I think it's really important also to talk about the relationship between the city goals and their policies and what you're doing, because I think the strength of your efforts really come from being in sync with what the city's looking for. I spent a lot of time, staring at your current comprehensive plan, and I think there are a lot of things that really arts and culture bring to life that, transportation or land use planning, which are great, can't really do. Especially, hearing, the marina and the harbor and the performing arts hall. Those are long-term projects, and those are heavy lifts and expensive. I think there are a lot of things that you can do with arts in the meantime that can make those things visible and gather public support that you need for those heavy lifts. And honestly, it's not that far from Old Town to the marina, and how can that really be felt like it's really connected, and the arts can do that. Okay, keep going. I had fun with this montage of arts in Oak Harbor. These are some of our favorites. Hopefully they're your favorites, some of them too. But again, this is just meant for somebody that can really understand what the whole deal is without having to read all the rest of the deeper dive. Okay. So much of this was in those interim reports that we did, after we did our residence up there with you. The structure is something we've been looking at and thinking about a lot. So we want to make sure that you've got the tools for where do ideas come from, how do we pick, how do we do them, and how do we follow up on them as they're being done. Okay, let's keep going. It was really nice that there was a rainbow over that mural. So this is just a little way of thinking about it. That you get the ideas, you plant them, you use your structure to help them grow, and over time, you really see some things that are very strong. And I think, there's the quick wins too, but I think you really do want to think long term about some of these things that are going to make a huge difference in the community for, the long term. Okay. All right, community input. You were all involved in this, so don't need to dwell on it too much, but it's really, really important. The more the better. I wish that we had a million times this amount of people telling us what they wanted, but I think we did get some really good input from the people, especially that really love this stuff. And I think that we were out there trying to show other parts of your community that arts matter. When we went to the, I guess that was September, the picnic with all the military folks, the things that were there, the Guitar for Vets, which I was just really, really almost in tears about. What a really cool program. So it's not just, the normal people that think arts can really help individuals heal and communities connect. So the themes we heard, go back one sec. These were, again, we put these into the report backs from earlier on, so they shouldn't be anything new in here. Thoughtful procedures is a little bit different than projects that you'd want to see. So these were the themes, and they show up in a little bit different ways through the report. Okie doke. Yeah. So, here are things that people wanted: connections to nature, heritage, functional things. People really like the ideas of functional things rather than things that were just, more objects. The idea of inclusivity and the different kind of cultures you've got, I think there's a lot of room for making that a beautiful thing. And getting art out into some of the neighborhoods too. And I know there was some real enthusiasm for some projects that, you could do quite quickly, like the storm drains, because, there's really a desire for that with city staff. Okay. All right, so you have a lot of arts. Here's the existing arts ecosystem and the research that we did. So you've got a lot of sculptures and murals and pieces of art, performing arts. I was really interested in seeing that 44% of Whidbey's travel impact and 16% of lodging sales are in Oak Harbor. So, I think a lot of people don't think of Oak Harbor when they think of, the arts and travel. And I think that kind of came out with city image and some things that put your best foot forward to a lot of people who travel through town rather than stopping and enjoying it. Any thoughts so far? Okay.
No.
We'll keep going then. So, yeah, this is a map and shows where a lot of stuff is. And I think, it goes over there like that. Shows the concentration of arts in Old Town, which is really appropriate, and Windjammer Park. So it's really great that you do have a concentration of the art. I think that doesn't mean you shouldn't have some out in the neighborhoods too, and the neighborhoods are a great opportunity for people to kind of make that their own. So, Bobo, do you want to talk about the how people can use the mapping?
Okay, yeah, so we have this artwork map. This one is very focused on the downtown. And then later on in the appendix, we also have a more comprehensive document of all the arts. We'll research online, also getting
Sorry to
inputs.
interrupt, Bobo. We're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, okay. How about now?
That's great.
It's better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I can't see because I'm sharing screen. Yeah, so this art walk map is very focused on the downtown area, where a lot of sculpture and murals are. And in the appendix, we also have a more comprehensive document of over 50 pieces of artworks and culture space in the city overall, which is very amazing. And thank you, especially from input from Therese and Tracy and everybody really sending photos. And yeah, so that's in the appendix, and it also has a online version. I just quickly flip it through here. That people can scan it on their phone, and then so they can look at it, and then just knowing the artists behind it and the story. And this could be updated anytime when you guys have the new arts coming in. It's in the GIS system, so once these are confirmed and adopted, we will transfer it to the city, and you guys can link it to the city's website.
Bobo, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add something real quick on the mapping. I have also taken the time to open up some dialogue with the chamber director to look forward to partnering with the chamber to get that document out by possibly using some of their funds that they receive from LTAC as well. That could be available for that.
That's great. Yeah. Let us know if anything we can do, either, from sharing this document or helping you guys link the website to any of the resources that you want to share to.
I have a question for you, Bobo.
Yeah.
So it looks like this is a partial list that you have. Is that intended or? Oh, like, yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha. Complete one in the back. Understand.
Yes.
Yeah, this should be a living document also. There's some things where I think somebody's got to know a little bit more information than we could find. And as you add new things, you certainly want to make sure that this can get updated. So, maybe Bobo can give a tutorial to whomever the right person is to add to it.
This info on pages 25 and 26 too, like at times I think we heard that a desire for like an elevator speech or like, wow, if I'm hosting a booth, like what are some things that I can just have top of mind to talk about the arts in Oak Harbor? That's where these 2 pages I think are also can be really, really useful for you, because as you get going on projects, it's so easy to lose the big picture for all of us on projects. And so this is where you can just pull snippets of language and sentiment to share with people that may not be so familiar.
Great idea.
Okay, so let's scoot onward. Okay, so OH Arts is, the idea of recognizing the arts are for all of us. They're invitations to participate and to interact. They should be a source of pride. So again, we just really want you and everyone that is out there, talking with people about the value of this, what great things that you do have and how it does really affect the quality of life and the image of the city and your own good feelings about where you live. Okay, keep going. So we just put here a few things that we thought Oak Harbor Arts is. It was just really, we really, really loved thinking about this with you guys and participating in the energy that you've got up there. So hopefully this is kind of representative of the different art forms and really the different communities. Even the people that say they're not art people, that memorial is so profound. Reading just, a few weeks ago about the plane that was lost. I mean, these things are really hit the heart. And, I think that the arts and culture representation is really important, and for everybody to recognize that. Okay, let's build a structure. Talking earlier about aligning with city goals, we looked at what the city's literature says about things. So we've got in here what the city said your responsibilities are. That's always good to touch on. And then, keep going. How do we set you up with procedures so that you can make good decisions and not have to think about it too hard? Think about the art itself and the projects that you can do rather than kind of having to invent wheels every time about the procedures. So the first thing is really an annual review and looking back at the last year, the successes, lessons learned, and hopefully really honoring some people that have gone above and beyond the call of duty, and that can either be, informal or formalized. And then looking at what the candidates for projects are. So where do those come from? We've seen at your meetings that people come and go, I want to do a thing. And maybe that's great, maybe not. That you guys have a lot of ideas for project candidates. There's a whole bunch of them in the report here. So for a project to move forward, it has to have somebody that is a proponent for the project, one of you guys. So in advance of the meeting, you find the project candidates that you are interested in spearheading, and you fill out just a little form. and say why this project would meet the criteria. If there's funding for it, what the kind of funding parameters are, et cetera. And then at this annual review, all the project candidates are subject to discussion. And in your project selection, you want a mix of art forms, of communities served, of things that are short-term and longer-term. It's really looking at a 3-year horizon. And when you do look at the 3-year horizon, it doesn't mean that you're not doing something about the project in the first year. So if you're going to build an art center, you're not going to do that this year, but you'll be doing some stuff to, set that up, planting those acorns. Some of these other things you might be doing right away. I know the skaters wanted to clean up the skate park, so maybe it's just you guys, bringing coffee and donuts or something. But everything would have a sheet that would tell you what the project is, who's doing what. That's the work plan. So the projects that fall out of this for year 1 have somebody leading the project and setting out what it'll take to get that done. And then in your meetings, you check in on that and go, well, that went great, or I need somebody to help me do a thing, or we need some more money, or we need to talk to one of our partners or need new partners. So I'm hoping you have questions and thoughts on that, because I want you to make it yours. There's a set of criteria here that would be part of your selection. They're basically from the things that we heard. Is this project visible? Is anybody going to see it? Is anybody going to do it? Connectivity, does it help bring different kinds of people together? Does it help people find the waterfront? So these are directly linked to the stuff that we heard you had as themes. Geographic distribution, is this helping concentrate your draw to Old Town? Is it getting things out into the neighborhood? Is it sort of covering the bases that you want to cover? Is it leading people out when you're serving the breadth of the community? Are there people that are getting more of the benefits than maybe others? You want to think about that. People want more space for arts and culture. Is it helping to do that? And really, is it a good use of your resources? There's some easy things that have a big impact. There are other things that are kind of a pain and don't have as much impact. So I think looking at all of these factors together, you want to balance your work for the first year and looking at over the 3-year period. Okay, so we put together a little step-by-step for you. So with the adoption of the plan, you've got some criteria. And if you want to mess with these criteria, we would totally work with you on that. This is just what we heard and what we thought made sense, but we would love, it's your document, so we want to have any input that you have on that to modify it, to make it work best for you. Updating the city website. And then I don't know whether you want to have your retreat in January or when you want to do that. We would be happy to come and join you just for fun if that would be helpful to you. This is your shakedown cruise, so there'll be a lot of lessons learned as you try and use these tools and see how they're working. You select your projects, you get your work plan together, and the other couple of things we wanted to keep on here is there was some discussion about communication methods and coordination opportunities with other leaders and organizations. And so at each subsequent meeting, your little work plans are going to be really helpful to check in on the projects that are happening. So
Leslie,
here's a project worksheet.
I'm looking at the project worksheet, and then I see the part where the 3 little circles for AC evaluation, and I was just curious about, okay, is one of them, is that like good, bad, and indifferent? Is that a weighted thing?
Yeah, it's like the restaurant reviews, it's one.
Because just on that thing, it doesn't say what that is. They're just circles. So am I reading?
Yes. You know, again, I think you might want to test this, but visibility, okay, it's really visible. It's right at the entry to town. You know, people are excited about entryways. That would be 3 stars, circles. And not every project has to do all these things. It is not like a scientific thing where you end up with a number at the bottom and then that's your thing. It's more subjective than that, but this helps make it not subjective, not totally subjective, but it's not like scientific either. You know, some things are just going to make sense, and I think you need to make sure that you are meeting these criteria across your work plan.
I have a question for Brian. As we work through this with a fine-tooth comb, as they say, and make it ours and continue to work with Framework on the details, looking forward to getting this plan adopted by council, because it's just paper until they approve it. What kind of time frame are we talking about that? Because I noticed there wasn't a workshop in January, so I would imagine that this is first introduced at a workshop before going to a meeting. I mean, realistically, is that going to be like March before?
We're not beholden to a time frame as far as council is
Okay.
concerned. So really, it's, you know, how much time is it going to take for us to make revisions before we get to a final draft?
And then
we
it
feel
would go
good
to
of
them.
Presenting to council, right? So at some, we'll go through this. We don't have a art plan committee scheduled for this month, but we can schedule it for next month.
I mean,
I have
outside of this meeting right now with Framework, I would imagine we need a workshop style session to bring our comments or changes to the document to get it to that place.
Yeah, I have a list of edits already. I've
Okay.
had a few more days with it than you guys have.
Okay.
Would you like to do that as a full commission, or would you like to do that with your art plan committee?
The art plan committee.
The art plan committee would certainly be simpler, and that can be more robust, and we don't have too many people in there playing with the pot.
Yeah. Brian, will you remind me who's on that committee? I think it was me, Carla.
I might have been on
Yeah, it's Carla, Cynthia, and Mary. Oh wait, sorry.
Yeah. Okay,
That's our commission. Our plan. Carla, Cynthia, and Tracy.
okay. Okay, so that's in order then. Okay, thank you.
I do have one suggestion on adoption, and that's that maybe the appendix is not part of the city council adoption, in case that would be much more flexible to make changes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You might think about that.
A thought on this, just, I'm thinking back to the request earlier in the meeting for something like an intake form, right? For if, when Bruiser comes to present to the Arts Commission, what does Bruiser need to bring with him to get a sculpture built that resembles him? This project overview, this candidate project overview, you could decide as a commission to share this criteria with, and say, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking for when projects come to the commission. Doesn't need to check all the boxes, doesn't need to be 3 stars across every category, but this is how you'll be evaluated. And that may support your decision-making process too, and maybe manage also what comes through the door a little bit.
Yes.
But I do have a note in here about that intake form, so we'll talk about it. Figure out what you need. Yeah.
So ultimately, the answer to your question, Cynthia, is when it's ready, right? When we feel good about it, and we'll have a motion of approval. But we want to make sure that you guys are good with everything, and that the commission as a whole has a chance to review it before you send it to council for adoption.
Okay, and then how does that relate to this idea of our annual get-together as outlined here? I would think it's done after it's in place somehow, even if it's immediately after the adoption of it and then start again in January of 2026.
I'd imagine so. Very similar
Okay.
to what we've done with our workshops, talking about your guys' annual, goals and priorities
Yeah.
for the commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Onward.
Okay, let's move on. Next.
All right.
Okay, so the project selection matrix has year 1, year 2, and year 3. And yeah, so who's doing what kind of budget are you looking at? Again, it's not necessarily a number, but it's a big project, it's a little project. And again, I think you just want to have a variety of things that you're looking at, and you want to name some names and make sure that you keep that mix going, and you know what you're doing in the short term for some of your longer term projects. The annual work plan then takes year 1 and kind of dives into that. So you've got your 1-year plan that falls out of the 3-year bigger look. Okay, move on. And then the project implementation plan, this is very simple, and for a simple project like you're going to help the skateboard guys, that's very simple. If it's a big project, this will need a lot of tasks and times on it. But I think this is just a form that you can use to just start filling out what you need for your project and when milestones are and who's doing what. Okay, Perry, do you want to talk about the Sustaining Public Arts?
Sure, yeah. And I want to say congratulations on the Angel installation. I haven't seen it yet, but congratulations. That was a huge lift, and I can't wait. I just can't wait to see it. It's going to be great. So in this section of Sustaining Public Arts, we have the appendices that deal with the template for a call for art, and then the nitty-gritty on best practices for relocating an artwork, deaccepting an artwork should one leave the collection. And all of that, I feel like, got a lot of attention in our residence time. So I don't have a whole lot to add now. Are there particular questions about these in the appendices? It's just, they're all sort of step-by-step from the initial artist selection to the final public unveiling, and what does it look like to celebrate along the way, with suggestions for the like social media takeover by the artist, introducing the artist to the community, things like that. Does anybody have any questions or anything that feels like it's missing?
I think at this point, because this is the first time I've actually touched the paper, I was looking at it on my computer, but now it's like, okay, we've got homework, and we can start diving in on this to make our own notes and figure out what we like or if there's something that we don't like.
Absolutely, yeah.
But Perry, I
Take your
have to
time.
say, this
Take
is
your time.
exactly what we've asked you for. I think it's fantastic.
Okay, great. I'm glad it looks good out of the gates, but take your time with this and imagine yourself as an artist that's applying for something, or imagine yourself as an artist that has a piece in Oak Harbor's collection and the status of that piece needs to change, just to make sure that it's a cohesive structure and each step supports the step before. Yeah.
My question would be going back, I guess, to Bobo when you were talking about, hey, training somebody, because this has to be all online and PDF fillable and databases, so that none of this is pencil written stuff. This is all digital where we can access it, manipulate it, and then that means who get smart on this? Who do we train on this? Do we have to all become smart on this system? So that I have that, at my computer, I just go boom, and I can see data and stuff.
Yeah, we're happy to convert this to whatever format that might be more easier for you. For example, we can convert this to a Word document that's easier for you to leave comment or make check changes. And we are happy to take any notes that is written, or you can scan it and then send it back to us. That works as well.
Yeah, because I can just see right now that somebody put in a handwritten note for the Bruiser thing, and we read Bruiser, and then the sculpture goes up, and we found out it wasn't Bruiser, they were talking Brazier. So, so this has got to be something that we can, there is no loss of information via pencil, and make it easy for somebody to fill it out in a PDF form, and you could do all this stuff online.
I'll speak to that a little bit. I would anticipate that, we're going to take sections of this plan, like, these protocol procedures, and incorporate it into our website, right? So we have fillable online forms that's easy for someone to find. Hey, I would like to propose a project. You go to that, complete this form, and get submitted to the commission for consideration. So we'll try and make that as user-friendly and as automated as possible. So
And then the next question is, okay, how does anyone know, how does an artist know that this exists now? I mean, aside from us talking about it, and this goes back to the communication plan of like rolling it out, what do we have to do to roll this out, that we're going in this general direction, and then it's the rockets start going up for artists to get very excited about this, and it's all there for them to do, and it's easy.
I think that's such a good point, and it really, in my mind, is a chance to celebrate the launch of the plan. Like, if an email were to go out to all of the artists that have an artwork in the collection now, and say, you are now part of this legacy. You are now part of this legacy. Your work is part of, it's baked now in a really strong way, and we wouldn't, have this robust plan without your work being in it, and it's a great time to reach out and appreciate your arts community, and then make them aware of the various appendices. And this is a really good question about which of the appendices should be adopted into plan and which should be, mutable, like on a year-to-year basis. So we'll revisit that as well. But the public announcement of the plan, and then a targeted email campaign out, not really campaign, but out to the artists that are in the collection, is a really exciting moment. Like, I'm not sure, am I answering your question yet?
No, you are, because we don't know what to do. It's just paper until it gets out.
Right.
I have a question again for Brian, only because Brian's staff is the one that's tasked with all of these lovely things that are going on in town. So we had a few meetings with Maggie, our communications director, about what was going on with the angel sculpture installation. And a thought occurred to me today with Parks and Rec and us and all of these other volunteer roles. Would it be a good idea, and maybe you already do this, to have like a quarterly meeting with the chairpersons of these committees to target communication or outreach to our citizens to let them know what we're doing? And then more focused with Maggie once it's a specific thing, like we're going to celebrate the launch of this plan or the next installation, or, we've got a new website with our Parks and Rec department that shows all these arts installations. So do you already have a vision on how that relationship with our communications officer is going to be developed?
I think Maggie is working very hard on a communication strategic plan, for all the departments.
Yeah.
We do quite a bit of things like this that we do want to promote within the community, within Parks and Recreation. Maggie, when and if she ever gets unburied from the pile of stuff that is constantly on her. Council did approve some assistance for her in that. So there's definitely opportunities to do something like that. She's already had a couple of these communication meetings already, so I imagine those will continue. Eventually, the vision is that we will have both a marketing coordinator and an arts supervisor within the department.
Okay, I have another question then, because, I mean, here it is, and the city, the public, 98% of this Oak Harbor has no idea what's going on. They're talking about the statues up, okay, it looks pretty. Are we at the point where we could have something, because it's in our hands, it's in the Art Commission's hands, that this could go out publicly, where we could say, like via Whidbey News Times, Whidbey Weekly, somebody, to turn around and be talking to us as the Art Commission and using names and faces and saying, okay, here's what it is. And you've given us all the right words to say, so we can start leading this thing and getting ahead of this and letting everybody know what this is, so that if they do see me or Cynthia or you, or they want to comment on this, we can get some information in and start, instead of just like, boom, the plan is done, here it is. But we could get out in front of it.
I think that's a great idea. It's something that we should discuss at another meeting and talk about some of that marketing strategy.
Yes? Okay. Onward?
Okay.
Going back.
Okay, and then this was a chapter that our colleague Annie put together. Pretty interesting stuff in here. Hope you learn a few things. Yeah, I think there are.
These numbers confused me. I was trying to look at the graphs. I didn't quite understand it. So I think I
Okay.
need like the simple version for me.
Okay, it is kind of technical, but yeah, those are the different art sectors, and just kind of the idea of where are you losing stuff that you could be capturing yourselves. Yeah, the front part has some kind of I think helps some of the takeaway. Can you go up one page, Bo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks at the retail sales comparison with peer cities. It's a little hard to figure out what exactly the arts economy is, because so many different things, people count it in such different ways. But I think, the tourism piece of it is huge. Supporting your local arts through their small businesses. All of that's really good stuff. And tell you what, if there's anything in there that you would like a more a simple explanation, go ahead and ask, and we'll make sure that it's understandable.
Leslie, just on the chart, I noticed that too. So on figure 3, the verbiage is City of Oak Harbor's share of taxable retail sales compared to Island County overall, 2023. So where I was I don't see the comparison. I only see one set of bar charts.
Yeah, what she meant here is she is using the 28% of the population share that people live in Oak Harbor versus the overall population on the Whidbey Island. So that's the population share. And then the economic assumption here is the retail sales in the art sector, which is number 71 here, highlighted, should be roughly equal to the 28% of population share on the island. And the study here she found out is very close. It's a little bit less than 28%, but it's very close. And then she also looked at the peer city, I believe on the next page here, how Langley and Cookview is doing in terms of the retail sales and arts. And she found out that Langley and Cookview is doing a little bit more than their population share. So this is one way to measure the economic intel in art and culture sector. But the potential here is there is some room that for Old Harbor to capture this the share of retail sale to match up the population share on the island. So that's the basic concept behind this economic analysis.
Wonderful. Thank you for that explanation.
And this section
Yeah.
is really important, right? Because it tells the narrative of what is the impact of what we're doing to our economic.
Ryan, I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well. Is anyone else having?
Check, check, check.
Is
Oh, thank
your mic on?
It is on.
You gotta actually speak into the mic.
I'll pull it much closer. Okay.
Thanks.
I was just saying that, this section is important for telling that narrative of the impact, economic impact that arts has for our community. It's a great talking point for justifying the Creative Arts Fund and the continuation of that.
Another piece of that as well that I found really fascinating with Annie's study here is that there's a very strong correlation between arts and wellness, or arts and recreation. I don't say recreation because not everybody is all about like the Spandos and, getting, weekend warrior stuff. But like art and wellness in terms of the dollar signs that are attached to tourism where there's also hiking and tourism where there's also arts, like that correlation is shown really strong in this, I think.
Maybe there's a way to help everybody be able to explain this a little bit more in layman's terms. Would that be helpful? JR?
Once I read everything, then it becomes a little bit easier to digest, but if I'm just looking at the chart, there are lines and maybe I'm too old.
Yeah. Why don't we'll get you some like bullet talking points that make it easy for you to get the message out.
So that, yes, I would like to be able to explain this, and I don't know how.
Yeah, well, we're going to give you some talking points so that you can talk to your golf pals. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. That's our measure. Okay, keep going. But there's good stuff in here.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Leslie, what was your favorite or most important that you thought that stood out in this section?
Well, I think you do have to explain to people that look at arts just really through the economics of things. And I think that's really important, and you're doing such great events. I think you're really strong in the events. So I think you guys are the big retail gorilla, in the area. And I've kind of said this before, but I think you should also be the arts gorilla or elk or whatever. So I think that's a pretty easy way of looking at it. It's interesting, like, we're working on an arts plan right now with the city of Sammamish, and they're surrounded by other cities that are doing things, and they don't really have to do anything because they just drive across, 5 minutes away and they're at an art center. So it's very different for you guys because, it's harder to get to, a large venue for you. So I think what would a large venue bring to Oak Harbor and to Whidbey? I think these kinds of things, these ways of looking at it, will help some audiences really decide it's a good idea. I think there's really great opportunities for partnerships. I mean, the island transit people are fantastic, and I think some of these partnerships are a way of really leveraging the resources that you have and the people that are doing regional marketing. I think that's really important too. Those are some of my, I guess, favorite things. Anybody else have some favorite things on the economic side of it? And supporting your local artists, that's really good. They're small businesses.
And I think that'll attract artists too. Like, I keep telling artist friends of mine, like, you're looking to move, go check out Oak Harbor because it's gorgeous and it's moving. And this kind of economic profile is what artists look for. Are there other artists there? Is there revenue? Will I be able to make a living as an artist there? And this is important in that direction as well.
Yes.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, the rest of it is some study on the current investment on the arts from the Creative Art Fund that is captured from your utility tax as well as the lodging tax. And then at the end, Annie provided some recommendation in terms of how to increase investment in art and culture. So that is on page 54.
Yeah, and all of these things, you guys want to have a virtuous cycle where there's some things that people see you're doing and they're going, wow, that is cool, and make sure they know that you did it. And that will really, I think, help bring some money. But I think, there have been funds that have not been invested in the arts. And so I think part of the thing that needs to happen is, the communications keeps coming up. I hope you've got your gear that, says Oak Harbor Arts Commission on it. And that you can really be the people out there helping people understand how valuable this is to their well-being and the community's identity and to your tourist economy, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you guys have any statistics like Oak Harbor versus who would be comparable to us? Like, okay, Anacortes, and do they have an art plan, and how much money is, what percentage or funds, and how do we compare it to somebody? I can say, when Tracy and I went to Mount Vernon and we visited with their art commission, they have no plan, they have tough time with funds, and they were absolutely astounded that we had this in the works, and like, what did you do to make that happen? And how do we compare to other places, if you guys have any of that information, saying, okay, hey, Anacortes spends this much, you guys are only spending here, people, other cities your size, this is what they're spending versus what you're spending.
Yeah, it does have a lot of that information, because we really think she's kind of a hidden gem, because she's now one of the few sort of local people that understand economics and city sort of funding. And so I know she has some comps from other cities. So I think we could throw some of those in there. The amount of money you spend on the arts is a choice. And it's interesting, not all cities make the same choice, and that's okay. I think that you guys get more bang out of arts money because you do have some tourism bases. You are a little bit far from some other things. So, if you're in the suburban Puget Sound, a 10-minute drive from downtown Bellevue, you don't need the same stuff. It's a kind of a different situation. So I think one of the reasons that the arts planning is so interesting is because every place is really different. And you want to be doing what is really valuable for you, both for the quality of life, for the city's identity, and the economy, and all those things. So it's hard to do apples to apples, JR, but I know Amy has looked at some different things that would be probably considered peer cities for you.
I think that would be really helpful to bring forward to council as they look at this, because I can think of 2 to 3 council persons that are very driven by economic numbers.
Yep. Okay.
Thank
Why don't we, let's pump up some talking points for you.
It's,
Do you-
I just like to be able to, when I explain, I've gone down every rabbit hole to every possible question, and when somebody looks at a chart, and that I can explain that out, or at least give them something, to compare it with. Hey, Redmond does, well, what does Redmond do? What does, those are, yes, that is comparing apples to oranges, but when comparing apples to apples, it'd be nice to be prepared for that question.
Yeah, okay.
And throw orange, we want oranges, because we've got a goal. We want to be oranges.
Good. Well, I think, part of that too is make sure that you're spending these resources that you have, and spending them in a visible and really positive way. Yeah. I think you're doing a good job of being in touch with like your state reps and, Department of Commerce at the state level is good. Shannon came up and saw what you're up to, which is great. County resources. So I think you are aware of those, which is really good. I think not everybody always is. And your partnerships are going to be really important. Okay, we'll bump up some talking points to get you your best arguments. You want to look at the opportunities and potential actions?
Yes.
I do. So we like mapping. So the idea here is to make sure that we're looking at the whole city, not just downtown, and how these kind of might weigh in with some of those themes that we're looking at. We really like the idea of those art sparks in the neighborhoods. And, those you can get a lot of mileage out of, sort of not a ton of resources, but it also makes people feel like they've got some agency in their neighborhood. So here's the opportunities map. Okay, let's just keep moving. And again, none of these should be surprises. We kind of talked about all this. I loved Bobo's graphic here. I laughed out loud. So the civic
Orange.
entries.
It should be in orange.
Yeah, the idea here is just having a short description of each of these ideas that we heard from either community or you guys from the outreach. And then an inspiring photo at the bottom that someone hoping to implement it can, get inspired or draw some ideas from these images. Leslie, go ahead.
Yeah, we heard a lot of desire for some things at a civic scale, things at a scale for the people driving on Route 20. And Perry actually pulled off getting a gateway on Route 20 down on the other side of the mountains there. But yeah, the Barbara on council was very interested in this, and that's got a lot of dollar signs on it, but it would have a huge impact as well. But it should be really beautiful and really all about Oak Harbor. Okay, let's just keep going through here.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one little piece to that, Leslie, really quick, sorry. So under each one of these projects, the bullet points are, again, this talking point for you. So if someone said, why would we want to connect the marina with the college? Or why would we want a gateway to downtown? Those bullet points are say, here's why gateways are important. Here's why connectivity is important. That's all I wanted to add, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, you guys wanted to get a plaque going for the arts. And yeah, Perry, why don't you talk about this? I know, you guys are doing a marketing thing, so Perry can talk about that. Oops, you're muted. There you go.
There we go, yeah. So the plaque is really I just did a couple things, made sure that it was pretty cost effective, because you already have, like, if you were going to plaque the whole collection, that's kind of a lot right now. So they're like cost effective plaque, and the same for all of the artworks, and also all that sort of important provenance information for each artwork, that it stays consistent over time with the artist's name, but also the year that the artwork went in is really important. But this plaque just kind of keeps it simple, with the addition of some branding that we'd like to add into it. But I think we were corresponding with Maggie, and that branding is kind of underway. Am I right about that?
Yes.
It wasn't final at the time that we put this together.
Yes, she said they're working on the city branding, including a font and colors, which will be finalized, I think, in the coming month.
Yeah, that's great. And probably the font and colors, we probably wouldn't want to carry through on the plaque, but a logo for sure. And each plaque has an opportunity for the artist to just add a little blurb about the work as they envisioned it. Nice, touchstone for people walking around looking at artwork to learn a little bit more. Do you feel like this is sufficient, or does it feel too bare bones?
I personally would think it would be fun to have a QR code in there that linked when you pull it up, and maybe the artist comes up and says something.
Oh yeah, I mean that
Or
would be
pictures of whatever making of it. You could put in a lot more background, it'd be a lot simpler, and it's a QR, because everybody walks around with their phones, they're going to take a picture anyways.
Yeah, for sure. It's more costly than I anticipated to put a QR code on a steel plaque or an aluminum plaque. But yes, I think that's also a great idea. We can look into it.
Brian, quick question. I know we make a lot of our own signs. Do we have the ability to create some of this stuff in-house? I know we're looking at like a plaque that's going to handle the weather, right?
Yeah.
Is that something we have to outsource, or is that something we
Yeah,
can
it
do
is.
inside?
Yeah, we can do certain types of signs. The signs that you normally see are right away.
Yeah, street
finding type
signs and stuff like that.
We can do some creative signs in house in parks, but that's kind of limited. We do have the welder. We have put together some more unique signs, but a lot of this stuff we'll probably outsource.
Just thought I'd ask. Thanks.
Okay, I wanted to point one thing out, that the Arts Commission has different roles in these. So on this plaque, you're the instigator of this project. For the next one, the other page, Art and Transit, probably the bus, Art and Transit would lead that. But you could help get content for that. Maybe there's kids stuff, or you can get some poetry for them. So there's different roles that you can play, which obviously have a difference in terms of your time and resources. So just a note. Okay, let's keep going. Do we need to stop at 6:30, or are we okay till 7?
We've got, we said 6:30 would be amazing, but we can go till 7.
Okay, well, we'll just keep moving quickly. Chalk the Dock, I'm really excited about this one. I think there's a real connecting on Dock Street. It is just so juicy. Gets you down to the Angel. You've got the city-owned parking there. You've got the Island Transit. You've got the Busker Corner. You've got the skate shop there now. It's just this really. I guess there used to be a dock down there, but this would be a really quick way to do something that really had some impact in terms of connecting this town. And I know that there's been a lot of interest in chalk stuff going on. So if you're going to do a chalk thing, I think this would be a really great spot to highlight. It doesn't need to be the only spot. You could use it to learn how to maybe do something that would end up being permanent. Connecting the marina and the college, again, just the connections to town, it's not all that far. There was a pretty famous project where people made signs saying it's only a 15-minute walk to the library or whatever it is, that people didn't always understand how close some of these things are, because perceptually they seem far. This could be a big thing, like this wonderful Lighting the Harbor in Hull, Massachusetts. Or it could be these kind of cool cut steel things that are along the river in Chattanooga. So there are a lot of different ways to do this, but art can do this in a way that precedes some kind of capital project that's going to be a long and expensive kind of project. Okay, let's just keep moving. This idea came up a lot about you guys being a convener, that you could really magnify the efforts of people if they could talk to each other a little bit more and coordinate. So if that's a role you want to take on, that could be pretty awesome. These are some folks in Renton that took what used to be a little police substation and turned it into an art place. They asked local artists to submit what they would like to do there. And there's a local guy that now has a shop there, and they have their meetings there. So that's something that again, if that inspires you, I think it could have a real impact on the arts community that you've got. Honors and awards, we talked about that. That's sort of some cheap thrills where you can honor somebody and give them a plaque or, a bottle of champagne or something, but really to recognize people that are doing really great stuff in the community for arts and culture. Okay. Flags for all. This was something you guys talked about at your last meeting. We got excited about flags early on. Love the idea of people making their flags. You kind of dodge some of the political issues with flags of countries. But, as a maritime community, as a Navy community, flags seem really, really great. And so anyway, that's something that came up, and it could be a really fun project to do. The Interpretive Center just looks like such a place for arts and culture, and we'd love to see that get turned into something. Understanding some of the technical difficulties with exiting, etc. But boy, it's in such a great spot, and it's beautiful. It's not really being used for what it was intended to be used, so that is a really juicy one, I think. Also. It also that art and science, and as you know, Perry's got an exhibit ready to roll whenever you give the call. So, all right, next. The support of new venues. You're a partner on this, a supporter. You're not the instigator. Love the idea of it, and that's going to be a community-wide lift. So, I think it's really interesting for you guys to talk about what your role is that would be most effective. The neighborhood art sparks are a wonderful way to get the neighborhoods involved in their own neighborhood, what they would like to see in the parks. There's a lot of good examples of that. It might just be a picnic dinner. It might be building something. It might be a playground that's kind of interesting. So anyway, that's a lot of things that people can make their own, and a little money can go a long way. Next. The youth video one was one that came up, and that's really a way to support some of the people that are doing work that is probably hidden. We think that the school has a program that could be tapped. It sounded like there was some interest in doing something along those lines, and that would be great to get some kids out doing some stories, and that could be part of getting the word out, we used some college students to put some films together for us. It was really fun. It was good for them. It was good for us. Storm drain art. Your city folks would like to do this. It's pretty cheap. It could engage some of your youthful artists. Maybe you get a fantastic artist to do some of the civic ones downtown and let people in the neighborhoods do their own storm drains. But, it's good. It's about a clean environment and your participation in it. So that's a pretty cheap and useful one.
I think that concludes a quick walkthrough of everything.
Oh, good. Anyway, there's plenty of ideas. Those are some that we felt were really in tune with the themes and criteria. So go for it.
Leslie, one thing that I was surprised that wasn't addressed in here, or at least explored, was the question around a creative art district. and whether it's city should explore that or not, or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on that. The program is good in that the material's all online. You can take a look at it. You have to fill out a bunch of stuff that says why you're a creative district, and I think it's a good exercise for you. And it's good for your own feeling that you are a creative district. It's not a program that has money attached to it, and I think a lot of communities have been very disappointed about that. So you do get a highway sign. So, as you came in Route 20, there would be something that said you're a creative district. I think the other advantage of it is that they have like a yearly thing where the creative district towns get together and talk to each other and learn from each other. So I think that's good. But I wouldn't do it because you wanted to get a lot of money out of it. I think it's more if that helps you feel like a creative city, then you should take a look at the material. And I can give you a link to that if you want, and see if that's something that you feel like would be fruitful.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Yeah.
The Creative Arts District program was actually what lured me to this position on the Arts Commission all the years ago. And the representative came to the island to do an introduction seminar on the program. It was very well attended. Matter of fact, the then city administrator and a few city staffs were present as well. Langley was the first on the island to get the designation. Coupeville just announced that they completed and got their designation just this last week. I did spend a lot of time with the program and looking into it. It wasn't as welcomed back then as it could be now for Oak Harbor, but it was also talked about that if it was encouraged that all of our communities would be as one, then it would give some ammunition or oomph to our would-be Camino tourism program to solicit the entire island as a creative arts district, recognizing all of the personalities within each township or community as its own. So there was, I think it's a great idea. I think that I understand that there isn't a lot of funding in it, but I think that there's great marketing behind that Arts WA logo.
Right.
And I think it is just one more step in creating that thought of one would be, which is very powerful to me because we are an island and we need each other. So it was just going to be another tool in our toolbox.
Are the other cities who already have the designation interested in being one community as would be?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily take away the identity of each district, but it could be a collaborative marketing tool.
It's facilitated through the state.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, I think, and we're happy to put that in. I think what kind of doesn't feel right is that Langley and Coupeville are, designated arts districts, and you're not. So for that reason alone, I think there might be value in becoming a creative district.
Yeah,
I would say keep an eye on it for a couple of years, Cynthia, is my feeling on this right now, because the program itself is evolving really quickly. And personally, I feel like in TWISP, I often wonder, did we get that? Did we go after that a little too fast? Because we have a lot of more tourism and, creative ventures happening in TWISP, but people are always like, well, where are all the artists and why aren't they all open and where is it and how is it? And so I think it's not something to rush toward, but to really take stock first. Is our creative community excited about this? Is our creative community willing to show up, individual artists as well as the municipalities and everyone else? You know what I mean? So
I do, and your points are very well taken, because in my role with the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation, it was top priority to go through the process when we saw that the then city administration found it to maybe be cumbersome or actually a part-time position to get it done, we felt collectively, the board wanted to see our two initiatives happen before the application was submitted. So seeing a performing arts center plan come to life, seeing a makerspace, seeing the Arts Commission adopt an art plan where it's showing our community is supportive of the artists, and then applying for the district designation at the state. So there was some substance to it.
Yes, no, that's absolutely clear thinking on it, because if it can really backfire if people show up in your community expecting to see the arts and they're like, where is it? That doesn't, so I'd say it's like maybe move toward that idea and making that decision, but maybe over the next couple of years.
Well, is this something that I could look right here at the appendix and say it's a project candidate? It's a project. It would, let's put it on, whether or not we go forward with this, in 2 years, we might change our mind. Today, let's put it down there and then see where we go.
I think just looking at the material and looking at what it means to be a creative district would be a good exercise, because I think it would help you move forward. To say, if we're thinking of ourselves as a creative district, we would be doing X. Hopefully there's this, we've got the walking tour of the public art that you've got. I think, if somebody asked me where the art is, No Harbor, you could take them to Pioneer Way and be very credibly a creative district. So I think, again, it's up to you guys as to how you think you best are going to accomplish your goals. But maybe that's just something that's something to steer by. We're happy to put that in.
One other thought for me was looking at maybe a little more council-directed guidance as far as, okay, we're adopting this as a council in a city. How is that going to inform our decisions, when the Art Commission brings these things to us? Some of that it's already played out a little bit in the code as far as the creation of the Arts Commission, but, I'm just kind of thinking around that. Like, are there suggestions for revisions of our code or ordinances that, based off of this plan, can be applied that will help direct council's decision-making processes?
Yeah, I really like that question. There are some cities like Pasco that had a bunch of laws on the books that prevented murals, for one, and food trucks and parklets and all those kinds of good things. I don't know of anything that's really a barrier that's come up, which is good. Brian, I don't know if you had a chance to look in the appendix. There's some language for the comprehensive plan that does look at the, just using, obviously the one that you've got now, and looking at ways where the policies can really, arts and culture can support your policies, and getting those sort of codified. So this kind of goes goal by goal. But I think, you could either do your own art, you could bundle these into an art section, or you can put them under the urban design element, Parks and Rec, et cetera. But this is really policies, as opposed to any regs that you've got in the book that are preventing you from doing what you want to do.
As I'm looking at here, and we go, number 13, Video Sparks, number 14 is Drain Initiative. Could this potentially be 15 and say, well, not an specific art project, it is an initiative, and it is, some bullet points to talk of why this could be important and why it should be on your bucket list at least to consider.
The creative district.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And
Absolutely.
we'd have talking points to it, and then it would be in the plan as, we've talked about this before. In fact, here's some of the reasons why, et cetera, and then we can go from there with it. Whether or not we get there, like Perry said, in 3 years, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe not at all, but at least we've kind of talked about it.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah, I want to quickly add that in the economic study section, Annie did look into a little bit on the funding potential with the Creative District. They do offer a 10,000 startup operating grant and up to 50,000 capital project funding for small projects within the district. But again, like Leslie mentioned, these need a lot of paperwork upfront, including establishing a community planning team and comprehensive planning and certification. So now we're happy to dive into those paperwork that need to be set up upfront and have a more comprehensive review as item 15 in the potential action.
Yeah, we can become an orange. Who knows? Don't put me down. We want to play. We want to look at everything.
Brian, did we answer your question about policies and
Yes,
regs?
yeah. Well, I think when we get together with the review committee and then have our list of edits and suggestions, we'll have more discussion about that, and then we'll get back together with you guys to go through that.
Okay, I mean, it's really fun to get rid of some bad regs, but yeah, if you have a list of those, yeah, happy to talk. So let's talk
Onward?
next steps.
Yeah.
Brian, I know are you guys going to bundle up your comments and we roll up our sleeves? Is that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was
next
thinking that's
step?
probably the cleanest way to do it is let us get together as a subcommittee and put that all into one document for you. And,
Yeah, that'd be great.
and it's everything from like little things like Teresa's the spelling of her name or how we list the acknowledgements to some of the kind of larger scale items we were just talking about. So,
Okay. Sounds good.
any other comments from the commission?
I would say just to allow everyone a voice on the commission, since everyone electronically has received this that's on the commission, if there's anything that they see that they would like to add, adjust, change, would be to send it on to the subcommittee then, so
Yeah,
that
that's
we
a
can
great
include
idea.
it, yeah.
And I just asked them, if anyone on the commission, as you read through it, if you have suggestions, why don't you email them to me and we'll go through those in the subcommittee.
Okay. Yes. Onward.
And thank you, Framework, for all your work on this. And
Yes, framework, thank you.
Therese has her hand up, or something's coming out of her head. No, she's got a thumbs up.
Well, it's really such a pleasure working with you guys, and we hope that.
You're just saying that because you got to.
No, I'm not.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. Okay,
All
well, we
right.
look forward to your comments and whipping everything into final shape.
Okay. Thanks, gang.
okay, we'll get back together soon. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
So now we can go to Parks and Rec Director updates. You got anything?
Let's see. We already covered the utility boxes and the Creative Arts Foundation monies. The only other thing I have for you is just we are in talks with the Renaissance Fair of holding the event here in Oak Harbor this coming year. So we're working through that with them. Right now, we'd be looking at Memorial Day weekend. We still need to have some internal discussion before an official approval. But yeah, that's kind of an exciting new festival, very large-scale festival. We'd expect around 10,000 people to attend. So more to come on that. That's really all I have for you guys.
Okay?
Is,
Any? Oop.
is there an
Teresa.
update? Is there an update on Flintstone Park?
As
You-
far as the.
What's happening going forward with it, with the redesign?
Are you talking
and all
about
that?
the reconfiguration of the park?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Parks and Recreation Commission has approved a site plan for that. So we're working on putting that together and getting project costs. We will bring that to council. It's probably going to end up being the first meeting in February. We'll probably do a workshop. Well, there's not a workshop in January, right? So maybe we'll be the workshop in February and then bring it back to the next regular meeting just for their okay on that to go forward. Is there?
Have we put out the new calendar yet? Because the workshops are moving to Tuesdays too.
Yeah, they were moved to Tuesdays. Did you look on the website calendar? Okay, no, the website hasn't updated because council just approved it. Okay. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it just happened. so.
But yeah, so the Parks and Rec Commission and their committee that's been working on it have been working hard on it. They've been receiving and going over public comments. And so right now, as far as staff are going, we're just getting the project costs together based off that, based off their recommended site plan and just all the information to take back to council to get their approval.
And there should be a workshop in January.
Yeah. So that we will do
Yeah.
that in the January workshop. Whatever the next workshop is, that's.
Yeah, the next one would be January because there isn't one in
Right,
December.
yeah.
Right. Because of the holiday.
Okay, we can go on to member comments. Anybody have anything? Go ahead,
I do.
Cynthia.
Quick update on Chalk Fest 2025. If you haven't seen any of the correspondence, LTAC did approve not our ask at 100%, meaning Parks and Rec on that half of that event. They approved 17,000. So we're short 18,000. We talked about that briefly last month and wanted to wait to see what LTAC did. I have been in contact with the promoter. And I know, Brian, probably the next step will be to set up a meeting with you and Terry and hopefully myself. But I'm wondering, would this be an appropriate time to ask the committee to ask for more money towards that project? Because I know we had discretionary funds, but not that much. And we know that the budget was approved without that additional money.
Yeah, so your funding is budgeted out. You do have 10,000 in discretionary.
Okay.
I would say let's put that on the next agenda for a discussion. Let everyone kind of chew on that a little bit.
Okay, then that's what I'll ask us to do, please. For a future agenda item to consider releasing more money from our arts fund.
That we had approved 35,000.
That's right.
From the Creative Arts Fund already to match what was hoped to
Hopeful.
be the grant.
LTAC, correct.
LTAC grant received. Since that has not been received, yeah, you'll have to decide.
How
It's
the
no longer
language
a
is.
match, right?
Yeah.
It's above the amount that they've received, so, yeah.
Okay,
We'll have to have
Play
some
with them.
dialogue around that.
okay, thank you. Oh,
We're-
and just to end on that, I did ask that he target the last week in July for that event, so July 25th, 26th, and 27th would be. What's that?
Do we know when Hydros is?
I don't. Not that that would interfere. It would enhance it. But I'll check. And that would lead right into the very first summer concert series, which would be held on the 30th of July. So it would butt into having the series in the parks with the artwork in Windjammer.
One item of consideration with that is that I believe we have a cap on how much we can put towards a project like that. Like the windmill ran into the same thing, right? There's I think it's like $2 per resident
But
of the
wouldn't this
city.
be
or
considered more an event like the marathon? Where it's contracted?
Well, that
They do fundraising and, I mean, we participate in purchasing.
Yeah.
You pay into a lot.
Right?
I'll get some information
Okay.
from city finance and find out exactly what we can and can't do
Okay.
and have some guidance for you guys at the next meeting.
Thank you.
We got to find one.
Concert. Start doing busting on the corner down there.
Tracy, you got anything?
I was just going to ask if we want to invite our Langley contact about the creativity or creative district information to come and give a presentation in January, or if we want to wait till February.
I'd say let's wait on that and we can digest all this stuff that's been thrown on us.
Excellent.
Yeah, nothing? Okay. For me, then I see at least for agenda items for next month, we'd want to have framework, Imagination Cove, Bruiser stays on, and we want to talk about Chalk Fest, and hopefully we have an update of how we can make $18,000 appear.
And Brian, you were going to reach out to the young lady about Bruiser, maybe
Yes.
share that one appendix page with her, like Perry suggested?
I'm sorry, say that
The
again.
one,
Share the appendix
Oh,
with,
the appendix. Oh, okay.
that didn't come out. Share your appendix, no, that,
the worksheet, the project worksheet.
we've got 5 minutes. You want to wait till 7 o'clock, or do you want to, or we can adjourn? No, Chris is giving me the stare.
Well,
Yeah,
I will
okay.
make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Trees, for participating.